On a cold and rainy night, Emily opens her door to a soaked and frightened elderly man. Moved by empathy, she lets him in, unaware that just minutes later, her house would be surrounded by police. What was that man hiding? And why did her act of kindness turn into a nightmare? Welcome to our channel. Today, we're telling the story of the woman who took in an old man during a storm and the next day, found her home surrounded by police. The rain was pouring that cold night, pounding against the window like tiny drums. Emily watched the storm from the kitchen, sipping a hot cup of tea. Suddenly, something caught her eye on the dark street. A shadowy figure was walking slowly, almost dragging his feet. Driven by concern, Emily carefully opened the door. It was an elderly man, soaking wet, shivering from the cold. "Please, help me," he murmured with difficulty. His pale, weary face sparked a flame of empathy in her heart. Without hesitation, Emily welcomed the stranger inside. The living room went silent, except for the sound of water dripping from his coat. She offered him a towel and a cup of tea. "What's your name?" she asked softly. "Joseph," he replied. With a deeply grateful look. As Emily searched for dry clothes for the man, her heart was racing. A mix of unease and compassion took over her. What had happened for Joseph to end up there, alone, on such a harsh night? Joseph held the cup with trembling hands, seeming lost in distant thoughts. His tearful eyes carried a silent pain. Emily couldn't help but ask gently, "Are you okay, sir? Do you want to talk?" Before he could answer, bright light lit up the window. The screech of car brakes filled the street. Emily felt a chill run up her spine as she heard car doors slam shut outside. Her heart pounded like never before. Loud knocks echoed through the door. "Police! Open up immediately!" Emily froze in the middle of the room, eyes wide in shock. What was going on? She glanced quickly at Joseph, who remained still, petrified. "Please, ma'am, open the door now," insisted the voice on the other side. With her chest tight, Emily walked slowly toward the door, thousands of questions spinning in her mind. Had she made a mistake by letting that stranger in? When she opened it, she was met by several police officers, their faces tense and weapons ready. "We're looking for a dangerous man," the officer stated firmly. Emily felt the ground vanish beneath her feet. Her mind swirled in confusion. Was Joseph really who he claimed to be? She slowly turned her gaze back and met Joseph's eyes. In them, she saw a genuine, almost innocent fear. That night, which had begun with a simple act of kindness, was now placing her in a situation that would forever change her life. Emily felt her throat go dry as the police burst into her home. Joseph remained seated, eyes down, offering no resistance. The officer held him gently but firmly. "Are you all right, sir?" Emily asked, trying to make sense of the situation. "This man is wanted for trespassing and theft," the officer stated coldly. Joseph slowly lifted his face, eyes filled with sorrow. "I didn't do any of that, I swear," he whispered, barely audible. Emily felt a deep ache tighten in her chest. "Please, don't hurt him," Emily blurted out, surprising even herself. The officer stared at her for a moment, puzzled by her sincere emotion. Joseph murmured again, "I just needed shelter. I didn't harm anyone." Emily watched helplessly as they led Joseph to the patrol car. Her heart was torn between doubt and empathy. "Can you explain more, please?" she asked the officer, desperate for clarity. "He's a homeless man who broke into someone's property," the officer replied briskly. Alone once more, Emily sat on the couch, lost in thought. Joseph didn't seem dangerous. His eyes showed a real fragility, a pain that went deeper than his current situation. Something inside her told her she had to do more. Unable to sleep, she searched for news about the case during the night. Online, she found the full story. Joseph had been found sleeping in an abandoned property and fled when discovered. No theft or violence had been reported. At dawn, Emily went to the police station, driven by an unexpected courage. "I'd like to speak with the man who was arrested yesterday," she said firmly. The clerk looked at her with surprise, then nodded, guiding her to a small, cold room. When she entered, she found Joseph sitting with his head down, hands cuffed, on the table. When he saw her, his eyes lit up faintly. "Why are you here?" he asked, his voice shaky. Emily gave a soft smile, Because I believe you. Joseph let out a deep sigh, tears threatening to fall from his face. You don't even know me. Why are you doing this? He asked again, incredulous. Emily answered gently, because everyone deserves someone who truly listens. The two sat in silence for a moment, sharing that intimate, unexpected connection. Emily knew she was standing at a crossroads that could change lives. Joseph wasn't a criminal, just someone trying to survive the storm of life. Emily took a deep breath and made a decision that even surprised herself. She hired a lawyer to defend Joseph. Within days, his story began to unfold clearly before everyone's eyes. Joseph wasn't a criminal, he was a victim of neglect. During the hearing, Emily sat close to Joseph, offering silent support. She could feel the tension in every rapid beat of her heart. The lawyer carefully laid out the facts, highlighting the man's true vulnerability. Unexpectedly, witnesses came forward. In Joseph's defense, people who had crossed paths with him at different times spoke of his kindness, humility, and honesty. Emily smiled with relief, realizing she wasn't alone in this fight. When the judge announced Joseph's acquittal, tears filled the elderly man's tired eyes. He held Emily's hand with deep gratitude, whispering a soft, "Thank you." Her heart warmed with that sense of well-earned justice. A few days later, Emily visited Joseph at the shelter where he had been taken in. The place was simple but cozy. Joseph seemed different now. There was a new light in his eyes, a smile of hope and calm on his face. "You saved my life that night, Emily," he said with emotion in his voice. "No, Joseph. We saved each other," she replied gently, realizing that their encounter had changed them both deeply. In the weeks that followed, Emily helped Joseph rebuild his life. With the community's support, they secured a small apartment and even a modest job for him. Little by little, the storm that had brought them together gave way to sunnier days. One quiet afternoon, as Emily and Joseph shared coffee in his apartment, he confessed with a shy smile, "I never imagined a simple gesture could bring so much change." Emily gently squeezed his hand and replied, "That's the power of empathy." As she left Joseph's home that day, Emily reflected on how a single moment of courage and compassion can transform lives. She understood that sometimes, all it takes is opening a door for miracles to happen in someone's life. Now, whenever it rains, Emily smiles softly as she remembers that night. She realized that welcoming Joseph meant also welcoming herself and understanding that we're stronger together. After all, true kindness always weathers life's storms.